What if I told you that the stuff getting tossed into the dumpster behind your local grocery store, the fish scraps, the rice bran, the citrus peels, the sakalis, is the exact same material that Japanese farmers have been using for centuries to grow food on some of the most brutally limited land on Earth? I mean, limited. 70% of Japan is mountains. They had maybe 12 to 15% of their land to work with, 30 million people to feed, and not a single outside supply line for over 200 years. And they didn't just survive. They thrived. They built the most sophisticated soil fertility system in human history, out of what we now call garbage. I've been doing this for a long time, and when I finally dug into how they pulled it off, I genuinely could not believe how much I had been throwing away. Japanese farmers figured this out across centuries, particularly during the Edo period, from 1603 to 1868, when Japan was sealed off from the outside world. No imports, no chemical inputs of any kind. Everything that came off the land had to go back into it, or people starved. That kind of pressure doesn't produce shortcuts. It produces genius. What modern gardeners are finally rediscovering is that this wisdom worked then, and it still works now. I grew up watching my grandfather save things most people throw away. Every kitchen scrap, every cold cup of coffee, every cracked eggshell. I thought it was just his Depression-era instincts. Turns out he was accidentally practicing a philosophy the Japanese had been living by for 1,000 years. The word for it is mottainai. Roughly, what a waste. And it treats discarding something useful as a moral failure. Today, I'm going to show you 10 items that grocery stores throw away every single day that Japanese farmers have used to feed entire civilizations. Stick around, because number 6 on this list is a fermented liquid that costs absolutely nothing to make and works like a biological fungicide. The same organism modern companies sell in bottles for $40. And number 10 is so old, so deeply woven into Japanese farming culture, that I think it will change the way you see what soil actually is. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, because we post practical, hands-on growing content every week that will save you money, cut your inputs, and help you grow better food than anything on a store shelf. So let's get into it. Number 1, rice bran. They'll walk into any Japanese rice mill or sake brewery, and somewhere out back there are bags of rice bran, called nuka, being thrown away or sold for pennies. In the Edo period, not a grain of it was wasted. It was a cleanser, a pickle starter, and one of the most powerful soil amendments a farmer could get his hands on. Here's why it works. Rice bran contains about 15% protein, 20% fat, and a mineral profile close to a complete fertilizer: nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, iron, manganese. The real power kicks in when you ferment it. A Japanese researcher named Dr. Teruo Higa formalized this in 1982 in Okinawa, combining rice bran with beneficial microbes and molasses into what he called bokashi, Japanese for shading, describing how nutrients slowly fade into the soil. Researchers confirmed that fields using rice bran bokashi showed soil carbon rising more than 15% over 12 years compared to conventional plots. To make it, combine 4 pounds of rice bran with 1 ounce of EM starter culture and a tablespoon of unsulfured molasses. Adjust moisture so the mix holds together without dripping. Pack into an airtight bucket for 2 weeks. When it smells tangy and sweet, like vinegar meeting miso, it's ready. Apply 1/3 of a cup per square foot as a top dress, or mix into new beds at 2% by volume. As a bonus, BBC Gardener's World Trials rated rice bran the #1 slug control material. Sprinkle a ring around plants. Slugs eat it, swell, and don't come back. You can buy rice bran at Asian grocery stores for under $2 a pound. I've done this for 3 seasons now, and I won't go back. Number 2, rice straw. Japanese farmers calculated that every kilogram of milled rice produced nearly 1.5 kilograms of straw, and they accounted for every strand. Half went back to fields as mulch, 30% was burned, and the ash collected for potassium. The rest became sandals, rope, raincoats, and the sacred twisted ropes called shimenewa that hang in Shinto shrines. The largest ones weigh 4.5 tons. A farming byproduct, sacred. That's mottainai in its highest form. Lay a 4 to 6 inch layer around your beds. It moderates temperature, slashes moisture loss, and feeds soil organisms for months. One thing to watch, that high carbon content temporarily ties up nitrogen as the straw decomposes. Compensate by mixing in a nitrogen-rich material, a handful of fish meal, a thin layer of compost before it goes down. Free straw is available from feed stores and farms where it's treated as a nuisance. Japanese farmers treated it like gold. Number 3. Dried fish scraps. Picture the Edo period coastal town of Kujukuri in Chiba Prefecture. By the early 1600s, this town was producing 1/3 of Japan's entire sardine supply, not to eat, but to fertilize fields. Dedicated fish fertilizer merchants were operating in Osaka by 1653. The cultural memory lives on in a New Year's dish called tazukuri, candied dried sardines. That word literally means making rice fields. You're eating a dish named after fertilizer. Here's why it works. Fish meal runs 8 to 10% nitrogen and 6% phosphorus, plus calcium and trace minerals, all slow release because the nutrients are locked in protein chains that microbes have to break down first, feeding the soil biology as they feed the plants. For a free version, fill a 5-gallon bucket 3/4 full with fish scraps, heads, bones, guts, dissolve 10 cups of sugar in hot water and pour it in. Add a probiotic starter, cover loosely, and ferment 2 to 4 weeks. Strain and dilute 1 to 5 with water before drenching beds. It smells exactly like you're imagining. Your plants will not care. Number 4. Sake lees, sake kasu. The thick paste left after sake rice wine is pressed makes up 25 to 33% of the total fermented mash. Every sake brewery in Japan was generating enormous quantities of it, and for centuries it flowed directly back to the fields. In northern Kyushu, the loop was elegant. Rice was grown, brewed into sake, the lees were redistilled into shochu, and the alcohol-free, nutrient-rich residue returned to the rice paddy that grew the rice. Fields funding the brewery, brewery feeding the fields. This system was so central to community life that sake kasu shochu was featured in Shinto planting ceremonies. Here's why it works. Sake kasu contains about 20% protein, roughly 3% nitrogen, plus over 100 different enzymes from koji mold and sake yeast. When you add this to soil, it accelerates the breakdown of every other organic material already in there. Preloading your soil with biological processing power. Dissolve sake kasu in warm water at a 1 to 15 dilution and drench your beds. Better still, compost it with straw for 2 to 3 weeks first. Fresh kasu still carries residual alcohol that can knock back soil microbes. Find it cheap at Japanese grocery stores or sake breweries. The soil won't care about the hangover. Number 5. Seaweed and kelp scraps. Japan's relationship with seaweed runs to its bones. There was a trade route called the Kanbu Road that stretched from Hokkaido down to Kansai for centuries, moving dried kelp over thousands of miles. Archaeological evidence puts Japanese consumption of kanbu in prehistoric times, and coastal farmers understood early that what washed ashore after storms was some of the richest amendment they could spread. Seaweed carries roughly 60 trace minerals: zinc, iodine, iron, magnesium, selenium, plus natural plant growth hormones called cytokinins that stimulate cell division and root development. A gel-forming compound called alginic acid improves soil structure and holds moisture. To make seaweed tea, fill a container 1/3 with seaweed, fresh, dried, even kombu scraps from your kitchen. Top with water. Steep outdoors 2 to 4 weeks. Dilute 1 part tea to 10 parts water until it's a light amber. Drench seedling roots before transplanting and feed established plants every 2 weeks. I started soaking transplants in dilute seaweed solution before setting them out, and the root systems were noticeably more developed than anything I'd previously grown. Soak your seeds before planting too. That cytokinin hit right at germination makes a real difference. Now, if you're finding this valuable and you're starting to realize How much has been hiding in plain sight? Do me a huge favor. Hit that like button right now. It helps this reach people who are tired of overcomplicating something as ancient as growing food. And if you haven't subscribed yet, click that button and ring the bell. We're building a community of growers who believe that simplicity and working with nature will always beat expensive complexity. All right, let's keep going, because we're just getting to the truly remarkable ones. Number 6, fermented pickle brine and natto water. Here is where Japanese kitchen fermentation and Japanese soil science turn out to be the exact same thing. And most Western gardeners have absolutely no idea. Tsukemono, Japanese pickles, have been made in Japanese homes for over 1,000 years. The living brine left over is full of lactic acid bacteria, primarily Lactobacillus plantarum, a voracious decomposer of cellulose, a suppressor of pathogenic fungi, and a producer of compounds that stimulate root growth. Same class of organism as Dr. Higa's effective microorganism system. The difference is your pickle jar has been producing it for free in your refrigerator. Dilute that brine 10 to 20 to 1 with water and drench your soil weekly. Best early morning or evening. Living microbial inoculant, free from something you were about to pour down the drain. Natto water is the one I want you to pay close attention to. Natto is fermented soybeans, made by a bacterium called Bacillus subtilis, the exact active ingredient in commercial biofungicides that sell for $40 a bottle. It controls powdery mildew, gray mold, fusarium wilt, and rhizoctonia, and it triggers systemic acquired resistance. One treatment at the roots activates disease defense throughout the entire plant. Soak 1 small pack of store-bought natto in a liter of lukewarm, non-chlorinated water overnight. Strain the beans out. Dissolve a teaspoon of molasses in the liquid. Dilute 1 to 10 and spray both sides of your leaves every 7 to 14 days. Reapply after rain. 2 seasons on my cucumbers and not a single spot of powdery mildew. Number 7. Wood ash. Japan is the only civilization in recorded history that developed a professional commercial trade in wood ash. Haikai, ash buyers, walked Edo period towns collecting ash from every cooking fire and public bathhouse and resold it to farmers by the bag. This is documented in the oldest Japanese agricultural textbook, the Nogyo Zensho, published in 1697. Ash was a commercial commodity, and everyone from palace cooks to neighborhood noodle shops was part of the supply chain. Here's why it works. Wood ash delivers 3 to 5% potassium and about 20% calcium carbonate, essentially garden lime. 4 cups of ash replace a pound of lime. Japan also practiced yakihara, intentional field burning on mountain slopes, and the UN registered these ash-enriched systems as globally important agricultural heritage in 2015. Research on those crops found turnips with 7 times the vitamin C of conventionally grown ones. 7 times. Apply a maximum 15 to 20 pounds per 1,000 square feet in early spring. Never mix directly with synthetic nitrogen fertilizers. Use it on brassicas, legumes, and root crops. If you have a fireplace or wood stove, you've been sweeping away one of history's most prized agricultural inputs every winter. Number 8. Okara and tofu wastewater. Japan produces 800,000 tons of okara every year, the wet white pulp left when soybeans are pressed for tofu and soy milk. In traditional neighborhoods, every tofuya had a standing relationship with local farmers who came by to collect the okara before it was discarded. Both sides knew exactly what that material was worth. Okara's dry weight runs about 24% protein, roughly 3.5 to 4% nitrogen, with a carbon-to-nitrogen ratio around 10 to 12 to 1, nearly ideal for fast composting. The tofu wastewater carries nitrogen, proteins, and minerals. Research on cherry tomato production found that using soy wastewater as a nitrogen substitute increased soil organic carbon by up to 36% and cut fertilization costs in half. Compost okara before use. Mix with dried leaves or straw to reach a combined 30 to 1 ratio. Let it process a few weeks. Apply 2 to 5 pounds per 100 square feet before planting. For the wastewater, dilute 1 to 5 with water and use as a liquid feed every 2 weeks. Check your local Asian grocery store. They may give you both for free. Number 9. Sow eggshells and citrus peels. These two get lumped together in gardening content constantly, and usually half of what's said about them is wrong. So let me clear it up quickly. Eggshells are 94% calcium carbonate, chemically identical to garden lime. They prevent blossom end rot in tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, and squash. The fastest way to unlock that calcium is to grind shells to powder and soak in white vinegar for 24 hours. Acid pulls the calcium into solution. Dilute in a gallon of water and drench your beds. The myth about crushed shells deterring slugs does not hold up. Slug slime protects them completely from sharp surfaces. The value here is pure nutrition for fruiting crops. Citrus peels are a genuine pest control tool. The oil in citrus peel, roughly 90% of it a compound called D-limonene, breaks down the protective coating on insect bodies and disrupts their nervous systems. Research found a 1% solution controlled over 99% of whiteflies and up to 100% of mealybugs in trials, outperforming insecticidal soap. Steep peels from 1 orange in 2 cups of boiling water for 24 hours. Spray both sides of leaves weekly, reapplying after rain. Or soak peels in white vinegar for 2 weeks in a sealed jar, strain and dilute 50-50 for a stronger concentrate. Japan grows over 100 citrus varieties, yuzu, mikan, sudachi, and the tradition of using every part of the fruit runs directly through mottainai. What you peeled off your orange this morning is a legitimate pest control input. Before we get to the final one, let me name 3 patterns I see constantly, including how I used to do it. The first pattern is buying expensive liquid fertilizers to feed plants mid-season. What Japanese farmers did instead was feed the soil biology, continuously with fermented inputs, fish brine, pickle water, bokashi tea, and let the biology feed the plants. More stable, more resilient, almost free. The second pattern is treating pest control and soil building as separate problems. Nearly every item on this list does both. Natto water builds microbial diversity and fights disease. Citrus peel controls insects and adds potassium as it breaks down. When you work with biology, you stop fighting on 2 fronts. The third pattern is assuming expensive inputs produce better results. Edo period Japanese farmers had none of what we take for granted, and they built some of the most productive, durable agricultural soil in history, not despite their limitations, because of them. And here we are at number 10, the one I saved for last because it represents everything we've talked about today. Banana peels. I know how that sounds. Stay with me for 60 seconds. There's a word in Japanese, mottainai, that dates to the 13th century. It was just added to the Oxford English Dictionary last year. It doesn't translate cleanly into English, which is partly why it took so long to get there. The closest version is "what a waste," but that doesn't capture the feeling of it. It carries grief, moral weight, the sense that something of value has been dishonored by careless discard. Buddhist interconnectedness and Shinto animism folded into one word that a Japanese grandmother would say quietly if you threw a banana peel in the trash. Here's the practical case. Dried banana peel contains roughly 11.5% potassium, extraordinarily high for a kitchen scrap, plus calcium, phosphorus, and magnesium. Almost no nitrogen, which makes them ideal for fruiting crops that need potassium to build sugars and cellular strength without excess leafy growth. Tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, squash, potatoes. Dry peels until crisp, grind to powder, and work a teaspoon into each planting hole. Or steep 3 to 5 peels in a quart of water for a week and apply as a liquid feed every 2 weeks during fruiting. A study found banana peel compost exceeded NPK 10 synthetic fertilizer in field crop growth trials. But the banana peel isn't really the point. The point is mottainai. The point is the whole philosophy underneath it. Think about what these 10 items share. Not one requires buying anything new. Every single one is a byproduct of eating, brewing, cooking, milling, that your household generates every single day, and that the modern agricultural industry has convinced us has no value. The same industry selling synthetic fertilizer from fossil fuels and fungicides that damage the soil biology they depend on for the next application. Japanese farmers didn't have that option for over 200 years, so they built something better: a closed loop. Rice fed people, straw fed soil, fish scraps fed crops, ash fed paddies. Fermented brine fed biology, season after season, getting more productive with every cycle. Masanobu Fukuoka, the Japanese farmer whose 1975 book, The One Straw Revolution, changed sustainable agriculture globally, said the goal was not to do something to the soil. The goal was to stop doing things that made it need you to do things to it. I have been in this garden for over 20 years. The seasons when I've done the least, scraps and brine and ash and straw, and just let it work, those have been my best seasons. Not luck. Because the Japanese figured this out 1,000 years ago, and the only thing standing between most of us and that knowledge is the assumption that what's being thrown away couldn't possibly be worth anything. Mottainai, what a waste. If you learned something today, why hit that like button? It genuinely helps other growers find this. Drop a comment below. Are you team fish scraps, team bokashi, or team natto water? I want to know what you're going to try first. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button and ring the bell so you never miss a video. The soil that fed a civilization of 30 million people for 250 years is waiting in your kitchen right now.